Hi, Rob. Today we're going to be talking about Brighton. But before we get into that, I've got a trivia question for you, which is which team in the Premier League history has had the most red cards against them in a single season?
Most red cards against them in a single season. I'm. That's a good question. I'm going to go Stoke. I feel like Stoke's a shout for that. Honestly,
So maybe I worded it poorly, but it was actually Chelsea. So Chelsea had 9 yellow cards given to the opposition across one season, which was
9 yellow cards.
Antonio Conte, who, when they won the Premier League, there was 9 red cards given to their opposition across their 38 games.
Okay, yeah, no, I've misunderstood that question despite the intentions. So that's on me. But yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I probably worded that a little bit. It's difficult to word the question of like getting a red card, not against you, but like saying it for you sounds like as well like your team getting the red card. Anyway, Chelsea's opponent this weekend is actually Brighton, which is the whole topic for today. And something I've noticed, and I haven't seen anyone in the media talking about, is that Brighton have had 4 red cards given to their opposition already. So my question for you today is there a problem at Brighton with regards to this red card situation?
I would like to know what the red cards were for. I'm going to be honest. I think it's a situation of. We spoke about it last week with the yellow cards. I think if it's a lot of 2 yellow cards, then maybe it's just a situation of the Premier League need to look at the yellow card situation again. But in saying that, I think anytime before 10 games, if you're getting 4 red cards, and that's 40% of your games, and where you've got a red card, there's something that needs to be addressed, whether that's your player's mentality. In the case of like Arsenal, they just need to stop kicking the ball away. And whereas, like, for example, check Tiote in Newcastle, you still need to just stop going and crunching things. So I think there has to be an element of mentality because not every red card given against you is going to be unfair or unjust. You know, you could have 1 or 2 in a season, but even saying that, you've still got 2 red cards, excluding 2 that could be controversial, you know? And in saying that, the media haven't kicked up a big storm about the Brighton red cards, so I can't imagine them being that controversial in all honesty, because we've seen when controversial red cards come, there's a huge firestorm around it.
Well, I'm just noticing a trend. So the 4 red cards that have been given to teams playing against Brighton have been Everton, first game of the season, got a red card. There was Crawley Town, which is kind of an arbitrary one, but in the EFL, Arsenal with the Declan Rice, and most recently, and this has got me thinking, was the Nottingham Forest red card. I think it's Gibbs White who got that red card. It was a second yellow as well. And the point of that, what I'm kind of realizing, it happened that in Arsenal with the Declan Rice. So Declan Rice has nudged the ball, and the whole Brighton team has swarmed the referee straight away, and so is the manager, and they've not let him go until he's produced the second yellow. And the same thing happened in the Notts Forest game with Gibbs White. He slid in, he's got the ball, it's not even a foul, it's not a discussion about yellow, it's not even a foul. They've surrounded the referee until he's given in and given a yellow. And this is a big statement. I feel like Brighton, as part of their game plan, are intentionally putting in a thing where it's surround the referee, pressure the referee. It's like literally before they go into a game, they're actually thinking about this and targeting these kind of situations to try and force the opposition teams to go down to 10 men.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely could be part of it, especially considering you've got to think again, like I said, if you're getting 40% red cards in a game, like that's a lot. You know, it's a lot of red cards coming through in games against that opposition. And I think in terms of it, there does need to be something to look at. How often are Brighton players pressuring the referee? How often is the manager getting into an ear? Because I know for the Brighton one, not for the Brighton one, so the Nottingham Forest one, the thing that surprised me when I was watching it is that the referee, you can clearly see he goes ball. He says the man's got the ball there and isn't going to give it. And then it looks like the fourth official has kind of gone, hang on, I don't know if he has got the ball. And like you said, in all honesty, it's not even a foul. If it's a foul, it's a harsh foul, in all honesty. And it's the furthest thing from a yellow card I've ever seen, in all, and like there's no reason to be giving a yellow card for that. So for the fourth official to get involved there, I would love to see a camera to know if there was screaming or jumping around or anything from the manager, if he's gotten in the air, or if the fourth official's just gone, nah, I don't agree with you there. And it always felt like an overruling. And I think, yeah, there might be something to be said about the Brighton players swarming the referee. But I think in the Nottingham Forest case, it's almost a situation of the on-field referee not standing by his calls. And it's the same thing with the Declan Rice situation, to be honest. I don't think the referee, the on-field referee, has given that second yellow card. You know, I don't think he's actually the one to give that second yellow card. And from what I remember from seeing it, I think someone else mentions that he nudged the ball away, and then the yellow card comes. So maybe Brighton are just putting pressure on the referee, but on the officiating team in general, and then the referee's not strong enough to hold on to it. So I would like to see a bit more of a dive into what exactly Brighton are doing.
Yeah, I mean, this is all very opinion-based discussions. I won't draw it out much further, but I will mention on the Nottingham Forest red card or second yellow, Fabian Hürzeler, the Brighton manager, actually got a red card after that interaction. Him and the Nottingham Forest manager, Nuno, they both got red carded because, as far as I understand it, Hürzeler went straight to that fourth official who overturned it, was in his ear. Nuno came over and started screaming back at him to get away from the fourth official, probably said it in more colourful words than I just said, and ended up with both of them getting red carded. But as you said, then the fourth official goes to the referee and gets the whole situation overturned. The other reason, and this is kind of my last point, I wonder, because Hurstler's coming, he's a 31-year-old manager, he's bringing in new ideas and new tactics. It's not nice, it's not the right thing to do, but if you had it as part of your tactic, like winding up opposition players and getting them sent off to gain an advantage, it is one way to go up. I'm not saying it's the only tactic, by the way, but I'm saying adding that to your plethora of tactics does give you big advantages. And you talk about this 40% of red cards. Brighton have had 4 red cards to opposition teams in their first 6 matches of the season. So it's not even 4-10, it's 4-6, you know?
No, 100%. I think it's, like you said, it's not something you want to see, but it is something that's 100% creeping into football again. And, you know, the reason I say again is because in the early 2000s is probably when I would say diving was at its worst in terms of blatancy. You know, I think now you call it clever play, because it's not this blatant, I've not been touched and I'm just going to tumble. It's you're throwing your leg out, you're waiting for a touch. Like Bukayo Saka is fantastic at it, and I wouldn't call him a diver, but he 100% buys fouls. Like he gets fouled, for example, if he gets fouled 50 times, I've got to say probably about 20 of those are genuine fouls. The other 30 are him being clever and buying the foul. And that's not to take away from it, but it's just a situation of he's bought that foul, he hasn't been fouled. And we've spoken about it earlier in the season with Shaw and Brereton Diaz buying a red card against Fabian Shaw. And I think it's just a situation of the referees need to wise up to it more than anything. You know, it's all well and good going, you can't do this, it's cynical, it's not fair play, blah, blah, blah. It's, to be honest, it's up to the referee to figure out what's fair play and what's not. And if Brighton go out there to do it, then and it keeps being successful, I mean, we'll talk about it towards the end of the season again and see what their stats are. Because if you rock up in this situation where they get 16 or 17 red cards in their games for the opposition, then maybe there is something to be said for them putting too much pressure on the referees. But I'm going to be 100% honest. I like the dark arts. I am all for the dark arts of football. And 100%, if you can buy a red card and you can get a player sent off and give your team the advantage of playing against 10 men, 100% do it. Brereton Diaz, as a Newcastle fan, I genuinely despise it. As a player, as a bloke who just enjoys the dark side of football and likes trying to wind up your opposition, 100% go for it. Try and get him red carded. Do something that's going to wind your opposition up.
No, I mean, all of this is very making a spectacle or an opinion-based piece. But the reason I brought it up as early in the season as I have is, we are obviously football unspoken, so we talk about things that the mainstream media aren't. And if I brought this up, if this continues for pretty much another week or two, it'll be in the mainstream media. There's no doubt about that. So I've tried to jump the bullet a little bit here by bringing up this topic about Brighton, and it will be interesting, as you say, to see what happens. Because literally, if there's another red card in the next week or two, I think everyone's going to be all over this. And it's at that point where you'll probably see a switch where Brighton might get a bit done in terms of the referees not giving red cards for things that are because they think Brighton are now trying to play act. So it can go the other way as well. Anyway, guys, this has been a really interesting discussion about Brighton. We'll see where they land at the end of the season. In the meantime, if you guys have an opinion, whether you think Brighton are intentionally trying to get the opposition booked prior to the game even starting or not, let us know in the comments below. I'll be really interested to hear some of your takes on this. Until next time, this has been Football Unspoken. Cheers.